if you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television.
Joy, I can't sing a lick, but I certainly, and I have not been asked, but if I were asked, it would be a hard no.
America, America, from sea to shining sea.
If you've ever wondered what happens when a beloved country music superstar goes head-to-head with one of television's most controversial talk shows, buckle up, because this story is bigger, louder, and more explosive than anyone could have predicted. Carrie Underwood, the voice behind some of America's most iconic songs, has just launched an $800 million lawsuit against The View, and Joe Rogan has wasted no time tearing into the chaos with his trademark no-filter style. This isn't just another TV spat. It's a high-stakes legal showdown that's left Sunny Hostin under fire, Joy Behar lashing out, and ABC executives scrambling to put out a wildfire that refuses to die down. It all started with what should have been a simple announcement. Carrie Underwood revealed she would be performing at Donald Trump's inauguration.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
For her fans, it wasn't shocking. Carrie has always stood firm on her values, and her music has long been embraced by millions across the country. But the moment her performance was announced, the reaction from the mainstream media was swift and fierce, and nowhere did the backlash hit harder than on The View. On live television, Sunny Hostin exploded into a tirade. Her comments weren't measured, they weren't respectful, they were sharp, fiery, and dripping with outrage. Instead of focusing on Carrie's artistry, she painted the decision as political, reckless, even harmful to the country. The rant was electric, but not in a good way. Viewers watched in disbelief as her words seemed to cross the line from critique into something far more personal, almost like a public character attack.
I think art is art, and you have a right to perform where you want to perform. I agree with you, Joy. I can't sing a lick, but I certainly, and I have not been asked, but if I were asked, it would be a hard no.
I think Sunny's dumb. Is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out.
For Carrie, the move wasn't about politics. It was about doing what she loves, singing for an audience, celebrating a moment, and performing as an artist. But after Sunny's scathing commentary, things escalated fast. Carrie didn't return fire on social media. She didn't book an interview to clap back. Instead, she let her legal team speak. And their response left jaws on the floor. They weren't just demanding an apology. They were filing a defamation lawsuit with a staggering price tag, $800 million. That number alone was enough to send shockwaves through every newsroom in America. This wasn't a slap on the wrist, it was a declaration of war. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't just about Carrie Underwood's performance. It was about the role of daytime television, the accountability of public figures, and whether The View had finally gone too far. Clips of Sunny's rant began circulating online, dissected frame by frame. Her tone, her expressions, her words, everything was under the microscope. And the backlash was swift. Enter Joe Rogan. Never one to hold back, he ripped into The View with a fury that left no one guessing where he stood. On his podcast, Rogan mocked the show, calling it little more than a circus of outrage dressed up as journalism. He singled out Sunny Hostin directly, accusing her of abandoning fairness in favor of personal attacks. His commentary lit up the internet. Fans clipped his rant, shared it across Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, and before long, Rogan's takedown of The View was trending right alongside news of the lawsuit.
I saw you on The View.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's been overwhelming my past couple days. So I just went in there, did my thing. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know who Sunny Hostin was. I actually still really don't know. So I wasn't expecting necessarily for her to kind of try to ambush me in that way and attack my character in that way.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean,
yeah.
it is a rabies-infested henhouse.
People across the spectrum began chiming in. Some defended Carrie, pointing out that she was simply exercising her right to perform where she wanted. Others called out the hypocrisy of a show that claimed to support free expression, but seemed eager to tear down anyone who stepped outside its political bubble. Memes flooded social media. One in particular went viral, a serene photo of Carrie singing contrasted with an image of Sunny mid-rant, captioned simply, "Grace versus Rage." It was a perfect snapshot of how the debate had polarized the country. Carrie's fellow country artists weren't silent either. John Rich took to social media, praising Carrie for her composure and blasting The View for fueling division. His comments struck a chord with fans who were already rallying behind Carrie.
John Rich weighed in, saying there are several top-tier country artists who support Trump, and I wish they'd finally have the balls to come forward and be counted. Ain't nothing outlaw about keeping your mouth shut to appease the record label. Carrie Underwood is making you look like a bunch of sissy boys. Carrie is talented, she is graceful, she is a class act, she has great legs, not that it matters, but she is everything that the tolerant left is not.
Suddenly, this wasn't just Carrie versus The View. It was Carrie and the country music community versus what many saw as media elitism gone unchecked. Meanwhile, behind the cameras, ABC was in panic mode. Reports began leaking of emergency meetings, legal teams poring over past episodes, and executives terrified that this lawsuit could open the floodgates to even more litigation. For years, The View had thrived on controversy, but this time, the stakes were different. This wasn't just angry headlines. This was a courtroom battle that could drag the network's reputation through the mud. Joe Rogan kept stoking the fire. In another segment, he called the show a rabies-infested henhouse, mocking the way hosts piled onto anyone who disagreed with them. His words, brutal as they were, resonated with people who felt the same frustration.
I think Sunny's dumb. Is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out.
For critics of The View, Rogan had become the voice they had been waiting for, someone with a platform big enough to challenge the show head-on. And while the debate raged, Carrie herself remained silent. That silence spoke louder than any words could. She wasn't engaging in the noise. She was letting her music, her lawsuit, and her dignity speak for her. Fans rallied behind her with an outpouring of support, heart emojis, American flags, messages of strength. They saw her not just as a performer, but as a fighter standing tall against media bullying. Then, just as the storm seemed to be reaching its peak, Joy Behar reignited the flames. On a follow-up episode of The View, she doubled down, questioning Carrie's motives and suggesting her performance wasn't about unity, but about something darker. The studio audience went tense, and the internet erupted within minutes.
Do the spa day.
I'm not even going to tell you what I'm doing. Don't worry. I'm not talking. I'm not telling. No, because it was always in the books. Who knew this was going to be the day that it chose? Because it's also a very interesting day, right? The 21st.
It's Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you can choose to celebrate it how you want. You can honor MLK.
I'm going to honor him and at the
get a
spa.
spa treatment.
Well, as long as it's a free country and it holds, I would agree with everybody. It is a free country at the moment.
Well, yeah, but it's up to us to make sure that doesn't start to change.
Yes, right.
Well, we're trying.
Well, we're trying, yes. And it's important not to forget that we have that right. It is up to us.
Yeah.
Now, there are other people performing too, and I don't really even want to bring it up.
Carrie, however, stayed silent. Her silence, once again, became her weapon. While her critics shouted, she exuded composure. And that composure turned into admiration from fans who respected her refusal to be dragged into the mud. Behind the scenes, the tension was boiling over. Sunny Hostin, once outspoken, suddenly retreated from social media altogether. Joy Behar kept swinging, but it only added fuel to the fire. ABC was now faced with a decision: double down and defend their hosts, or issue some kind of apology to calm the storm. Neither option looked good. And then Carrie's legal team delivered another bombshell. They released a public statement accusing The View of not just defamation, but a pattern of character assassination designed to damage reputations for the sake of ratings. The statement laid out years of targeted commentary, a timeline of selective outrage, and a warning that this lawsuit wasn't just about one performance, it was about holding an entire industry accountable. That's when hashtags like #StandWithCarrie and #SueTheView exploded across platforms. For a rare moment, fans from all sides of the political spectrum found common ground. The lawsuit had tapped into something deeper: frustration with a media culture built on tearing people down. Joe Rogan seized the moment once more, dedicating a special segment to the scandal. He argued that Carrie's lawsuit wasn't just her fight, but a symbol of pushback against an industry addicted to outrage.
One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, I wanted to play this, but we decided we shouldn't play it. We don't want anybody to have any sort of a way to get it down. The episode of you when you're on The View, when you were running for president.
Right. Donald Trump is a billionaire, a real estate mogul, and a television star. But does he really want to add President of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to.
You got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
Please, let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump.
That's right. Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you.
We're so happy to have you. Whenever you're on with us, we're very happy.
We love it. They're talking about you in such a favorable light. The audience was cheering, and then you actually started winning in the polls, and then the machine started working towards you.
Joe Biden knows how to do this. Trump.
Yeah.
He tends to just...
He played old clips, broke down hypocrisy, and asked how long audiences would keep feeding into shows that thrived on negativity. His words struck like a hammer, and millions listened. As the weeks went on, advertisers began voicing concerns. Sponsors didn't want to be dragged into controversy. ABC's internal morale was faltering. Rumors swirled that Sunny and Joy had even begun preparing their own legal teams in case things got personal. And then came the moment that shifted everything again. Carrie Underwood finally broke her silence, not through an interview or a press release, but through music. At a live performance, dressed simply in black, she thanked the audience with visible emotion and told them, "Music brings people together. That's all I've ever wanted to do." The crowd erupted. Clips of the moment spread like wildfire, praised as raw, authentic, and powerful. That performance reminded people why they loved Carrie in the first place. She wasn't about drama. She was about unity through music. And in that moment, she turned the tide back in her favor in a way words never could. But the legal battle is far from over. With the lawsuit moving forward, ABC facing mounting pressure, and Joe Rogan promising even more unfiltered commentary, the question now is whether The View can withstand the storm. Will the show be forced to finally change its tone? Or will it collapse under the weight of its own unchecked arrogance? What's clear is that Carrie Underwood's lawsuit has sparked more than a courtroom fight. It's triggered a cultural reckoning about the power of media, the limits of free speech, and the cost of destroying reputations for ratings. So now the question is yours. Was Carrie right to sue? Should Sunny Hostin and Joy Behar be held accountable for their words? Or is this just the price of being in the public eye? Whatever your stance, one thing is certain: this story is only just beginning.